But let's get our acceleration here. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's going to be going over the all-new Mazda CX-30 with the turbocharged engine. Before we get in this video though, a huge shout out and thank you to the Tim Daly Mazda here in Southtown, Utah for giving me some time with this CX-30. I'm going to include a link to their inventory in the description down below, so you can check out what they have currently. If you have any questions, need any help, just ask for Jake. And then on a side note, if you save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's get into it. Under the hood, we have a turbocharged 2.5 liter 4-cylinder that goes through a 6-speed automatic transmission. Fuel economy is 22 around town and then 30 on the highway, with power outputs being 227 horsepower and then 310 pound-feet of torque. Now, before we go over the front end, I do want to mention, if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. So starting with the hood, you guys can see it's flat there in the center, and then it kind of just slopes off on either side. And then popping down below, you guys can see the LED daytime running lights there around the headlights. Notice the grille is darker. You've got some chrome trim though, parking sensors integrated into the front end, and then notice the little amber light there at the bottom. And putting it all together, the CX-30 is a pretty good looking CUV. Coming around the side here, time wheel setup is 215 55 18 in the front and over in the rear as well. And then you guys can see how the wheels are all blacked out. Definitely goes with the sporty theme of this particular vehicle. Really chunky fender flares here, and then you guys can see with the bodywork that continues along the side. And there's a quick look at the mirrors, pretty cool. And then you got some chrome trim around the windows. And then here's a full side profile on the CX-30. Definitely a handsome looking crossover. So here's the key fob. You guys can see the Mazda logo there on the back. We have our lock function here in the front. We've got the unlock and then the opening for the hatch. Now the CX-30 is actually pretty practical when it comes to the storage space. Notice we got the whole floor covering situation back here, and well, that's all. When you're all done, you can just press that button and that will lower the hatch right back down. Now you guys can see the taillights here with the CX-30, definitely a distinctive look. And then of course we got our turbo badge down below, and then you've got your CX-30 all-wheel drive badge as well. Parking sensors here on the rear, and then look at those exhaust tips, pretty sporty. And then in whole, the CX-30, again, like I said, I think is a pretty good looking CUV, that's for sure. Now, popping inside, you guys can see really nice material use. Everything's pretty much padded, which looks fantastic, but then also feels good. And even look at the door handle, that looks pretty cool as well. Really nice perforated leather seats, as you can see here in the CX-30. And look at it on the side, nice and soft. Now, when it comes to legroom in the CX-30, not exactly the greatest, but you know, I fit. And then you got some vents there in the center and a little storage pocket. And then headroom's actually pretty solid. And look at this, if I can pull it out. Cup holder armrest. And then taking a look at the front door panel here, you guys can see again, really nice padding all over. And then look at like the silver trim right there. Speaker for the Bose sound system. Got a bunch of window controls here with our mirror adjustments. And then the mirrors do have blind spot monitoring. And then here are the seats again, really nice leather seats, as you can see, perforated in the center portion. And then we've got all of our power adjustments on the side. And then you guys can see you got controls for like the safety tech, that's for the camera, your parking sensors, and then your hill climb assist. Oh, and I almost forgot, memory seats down below, and then the opening for the hatch. Well, here's the steering wheel, really nice leather trim all around. You can see the darker stitching there on the center portion. We do have our adaptive cruise control here with the steering assist. We've got our info button here for the center, and then our volume controls, voice command controls, you know, all the normal stuff. Turn signal light stock, windshield wiper stock. Now, first off, the gauge cluster is set to kilometers, and so, yeah. Anyways, you guys can see you've got the analog gauges on either side, and then you have that little screen there in the center. If I press the info button, it'll let me see different bits of info on the vehicle. And then we do have a sport mode. Pops up at the bottom, says sport. Now, as you guys can see, we've got this 360 camera system. So you got that bird's eye view there, and then notice with the backup camera, we've got those trajectory lines right there. Resolution's pretty decent. And then if I go out of reverse and then press the camera view button, then you guys can see the camera will pop back on, and you can see the multiple viewpoints with that 360 system. And then as for the rest of the infotainment system, you've got like a dial to control everything, and you know, not a touchscreen if you guys are wondering, but pretty easy to use overall because you got like the shortcut buttons, and I mean the dial responds really well, so I don't have a problem with it. And then also just look at the material use on the dash, like just really high quality. And then you guys can see the vents down below. Look at the silver trim that goes across as well. And then you guys can see we've got dual zone climate. We also have heated seats and a heated steering wheel. Got some extra storage space right here, and then you guys can see we've got the cup holders right in front of that. Here's our shifter for that 6-speed automatic. We do have a manual shift function. That's what these paddles here on the back of the steering wheel are for. And then you get your drive mode select right next to that whole setup. And then you guys can see the control here for the infotainment system. So basically just a little dial here with some shortcut buttons. Then you got the volume control, parking brake, your auto hold. And then here's the center console, which you can kind of like slide forwards and backwards, which is pretty cool. And then tons of storage space inside. And again, really nice material use. And then here is the glove box, really nice handle on the outside, and well, it's a glove box. And then you guys can see the mirror here at the top, and then, well, sunroof, which is pretty cool, and then lighter colored headliner. Now here's the window sticker for this CX-30. You guys can see this is a turbo with the Premium Plus package, and almost everything's standard. You got $35,400 MSRP, base MSRP. After all options, total MSRP is $36,790. And let's see how it drives. Well, let's talk about visibility before we set off. Here's the visibility of the hood, and you guys can see the heads-up display. Both the mirrors are blind spot monitoring, and throughout the rest of the rear. And let's set off. Setting off in the CX-30 with the turbo. Now I'm driving this back to back with the naturally aspirated CX-30, the new one with cylinder deactivation and 5 more horsepower than last year. And so we'll see how the turbo compares, because you know the power difference between the non-turbo and the turbo, at least the horsepower isn't, I mean it's big but it's not huge. The non-turbo 191 horsepower, this 227. The torque is the big figure because the non-turbo has only 186 pound-feet, whereas this has 310 pound-feet. So that's where you're going to feel the biggest difference. And you do feel it on the low end. Like this, just barely have to get in the throttle and it starts moving, whereas the naturally aspirated engine, you got to get into it a little bit more for it to actually do anything. But other than that, a lot of the other driving dynamics are basically the same. Oh yeah, this is way punchier. Way punchier. We're going to pop into the sport mode. Yeah, it's in sport mode. Transmission's really responsive. Yeah, this definitely just has kind of like a sportier feel overall. You can feel that is for sure. I really like the yeah, I really like the responsiveness in the low end. But let's get our acceleration here. Oh, window sticker flew off. We'll put that back up there. Well, I guess we'll do that later. But yeah, it gets up and moves. Now the one thing about this powertrain is it purposefully short shifts well before redline, because this powertrain has so much torque and not as much horsepower, and so it just tries to keep it in peak torque because that's what will keep pushing you forward. So it's kind of interesting to say the least. But still has Mazda's, you know, again, great handling, steering feels really good. It just has this fun driving experience you don't get in a lot of other vehicles in this segment. So summing things up, I still think this is the leader in this segment because it looks really good. The interior is so nice. This is like a luxury car interior, but it's not like, you're not paying a luxury car price, which is great. And like, I don't have anything bad to say about this. I like, seriously, I don't understand, like this is just me going off a little bit of a rant. I don't understand why anyone buys a Crosstrek or a Honda HR-V with this thing like existing, because like, seriously, just compare the interiors and drive them back to back. Like, why would you want a gutless 4-cylinder without a turbo that has this paired to a CVT when you could get this? I just don't understand it. You know, obviously people are bought into the, you know, Subaru and Honda Kool-Aid, where, you know, it's more reliable and this and that, but seriously, like, this is just, it's a much better vehicle. Let me know what you guys think, but there's a CX-30. That's gonna sum things up with our video on this Mazda CX-30 with the turbocharged engine. Again, a huge shout out and thank you to the Tim Daly Mazda here in South End, Utah for giving me some time with the CX-30. Check out their info in the description down below. Ask for Jake if you have any questions. I'll see ya.